Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so I'm sure you guys are aware of this term, we've been speaking about it for years. The notion or the idea of the secret Trump voter or the shy Trump voter. People who are too shy to signal their support for Donald Trump, or people who are too scared to signal their support for Donald Trump because of mostly all the backlash that would follow. People who aren't showing up on the polling data, but essentially who are showing up when it's time to vote. We've been talking about this phenomenon for a while, mostly because, well, you have to kind of enter it into your analysis when analyzing these polls. It's a real thing, and I think it continues to be a real thing, so you've heard me talk about it a lot. This year, we have something new. We have a new phenomenon. It's not just the secret Trump voter, it's also the invisible Kamala voter. Where the hell are these people? I keep hearing about them. Supposedly, they're everywhere, but for some reason, it almost feels as if they don't actually exist. Remember this moment?
How many folks support Vice President Harris? Any hands? No hands.
Wow.
Okay.
It's nobody's business.
It's nobody's business, says one man. So there you go. I tried Maria, and
Interesting.
Fine.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow. Interesting. Well,
A group of diverse union workers, I think in New Jersey if I'm not mistaken, asked if they support Kamala Harris, and nobody raised their hand. Then of course we had a news segment where a journalist had traveled from restaurant to restaurant in search for a single Kamala voter, and it took her multiple restaurants just to be able to find one.
We had so much fun, but what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant, and we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person.
And now, here we go again, a pretty similar phenomenon in the swing state of Arizona. MSNBC is searching far and wide for a single Kamala Harris supporter, and they couldn't even find one. It's the phenomenon of the non-existent Kamala voter. Let's have a conversation about it. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So let me tell you, if you're one of those blue anon folk, watching MSNBC to get your daily Trump derangement syndrome fix, oh, he's definitely going to prison this time, well, you might be in store for something a little bit different these days. It seems like reality's hitting pretty frickin' fast.
And I should note, we did not find a single person who audibly would tell us that they voted for Kamala Harris. These were Trump supporters getting out to vote early in the all-important Mojave County. Take a listen to some of our conversations.
Well, the difference is going to be that everybody's coming out early, and everybody that we talked to has made a special effort this year to vote, and you can see it here in the parking lot. You know, this library's usually got 5 cars in it. There's a ton of cars in it now.
Said you voted early for the first time.
For the first time.
Why did you vote early this year?
Honestly, because Donald Trump told me to.
what a good answer.
He keeps saying it, and I've been thinking about it, and so here I am.
We met one man who did not vote in 2020, but he said he was horrified by the state of the country, so he is voting here in 2024. We met 3 other voters, one that moved from California, one that moved from Oregon, blue states, who said that they moved here and were eager to vote in a state where Donald difference. And so it's those types of voters that not only Republicans are watching come to the polls, but also Democrats have a close eye, understanding that they need to really win the Maricopa County area to make up for any potential juicing of turnout here among the MAGA faithful in places like Mojave County, Jose.
I just got to repeat that quote. Quote, we did not find a single person who would audibly tell us that they voted for Kamala Harris. Now, of course, maybe they ran into a couple Kamala Harris voters who just didn't want to make that public, but I'm sure there's those types of people on both sides. You mean to tell me that MSNBC couldn't find a single person walking out after early voting willing to say, yay, I just voted for Kamala Harris? Not a single one? You know, there's supposedly all this hype, all of these loyal supporters and people who believe that Kamala Harris is the future, change, exactly what the country needs. There's not a single proud voter willing to declare their support for Kamala Harris. That's insane, especially considering this is early voting. You know, this is where Democrats are supposed to be dominating. And as of course, you've seen a lot of the coverage on X. I've touched it very briefly as well. Didn't really go into too much detail, but I'm sure you've heard the narrative. I'm sure you've heard the stories that Democrats are down big time in terms of early voting and mail-in ballot voting and mail-in ballot requests. Well, I guess this pretty much confirms it. Even MSNBC says that most likely all these people, or at least the majority of these people that are early voting here in Arizona, a swing state of all places, are here voting for Donald Trump. And you know what that continues to tell me? That continues to tell me that it's probably a whole lot worse than the polling data is indicating. There's got to be something that the polls are just not tapping into. And I think people are really waking up to it. I mean, look at the latest update at Polymarket. Look at this, folks. The odds have completely shifted, actually to such a dramatic degree that in the betting odds, Donald Trump now has a 20-point lead, at least nearly 20-point, over crumbling Kamala. You know, I think we're past the delusion and the copium phase, and now we're in the acceptance of reality phase. I think it's really starting to get to the left, and they're finally starting to realize what's really going on. Donald Trump is building a coalition. It's like I've said forever, the Trump floor doesn't go anywhere. But what's beautiful about this election is he keeps bringing more and more people on. We're talking about Hispanics, black voters, specifically black men, major increases with male voters in general, and we've even got some Kennedy Democrats jumping on the Trump train.
Says he voted for President Biden in 2020 and was planning to vote for Robert Kennedy Jr. this year until Kennedy dropped out and endorsed Trump.
My 84-year-old father, who I've been giving him such a hard time about Trump for years until now, will be here today. And I've had to apologize to him for all the horrible things I've said about Trump.
Because he supported him and you didn't.
He supported Trump and I didn't. But because of how things evolved with me being diehard for Kennedy and how Kennedy came to basically say, I need to support Trump because we stand for these issues.
There's something happening here, and I don't think Democrats can match it. They tried with their pathetic #WhiteMenForHarris campaign, Republicans for Harris, you know, they tried with all these phony attempts, but it's just not happening in the other way, and the odds continue to move in Trump's favor. And you can tell that it's getting to them. I mean, the desperation has become intense. Kamala Harris is considering going on Joe Rogan's show? That can only mean one thing and one thing alone: peak desperation. They've got nothing. That's why they're trying to rehash old, failed talking points.
Do you think Donald Trump needs to take a cognitive test?
Well, I'm going to say what I've said publicly and will say many times based on my observations, and I think the observations of many. Donald Trump is increasingly unstable, and as has been said by the people who have worked closely with him, even when he was president, he's unfit to be president of the United States.
Kamala Harris suggests that Donald Trump is unfit for office, increasingly unstable. Oh, he's got cognitive issues. All these Democrat bots have been trying to push this into the news cycle the last couple of days, really to no avail, but it's proof that they got nothing. They're desperate, failing, flailing, and really what a misguided strategy. After 4 years of lying to the American people about Joe Biden's health, you know, during those 4 years, Kamala Harris couldn't possibly tell that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline. Here they are pointing the finger at Donald Trump and saying, look, he's in cognitive decline. Yeah, I don't think people trust you on that issue anymore. They've got nothing, and it's so obvious. You know, I think a lot of us were waiting for a big October surprise, but it's obvious at this point the Democrats have played every card in their hand. They've got nothing left. The last big piece that they were trying to run on were some of the ridiculous allegations in Bob Woodward's latest book, but even notorious Trump hater Maggie Haberman, a woman who's made her entire career around using journalism to destroy Donald Trump's career, even she isn't buying it. Maggie Haberman says that Trump bombshell from Woodward book, not backed up by her sources, quote, spoke to 20 people. So that's a flop. And so I guess we're back to Donald Trump's a fascist.
But we talked to roughly 20 people who should have had some visibility into this, and none of them knew about it. It's certainly possible that it's happening on some kind of covert channel, or has. It's certainly possible that Trump suggested to people that he had talked to Putin in the past and didn't. All of these are within the realm of possibility. But I don't take that as, yes, he absolutely did, because he often leaves these things open so that he's not ruling something out.
But that's interesting. Even you spoke to 20 people who, you know, generally you would think would know if these calls had happened.
And they didn't, and they
weren't sure.
They were not aware of this. They did not say, you know, definitively this couldn't have happened, but that they were unaware of them. And that's a lot of people.
Yeah, they've got absolutely nothing. Like I keep saying, they're failing and flailing, they're dropping in the polls, and now they're resorting back to this ridiculous fascism nonsense. I guess jumping on the Joy Reid bandwagon.
If Donald Trump does win, there won't be a Democrats go back and figure out how to get more voters and figure out how to change your positions. There will be camps. There will be Project 2025. There could be arrests of people like Adam Schiff. There could be Nancy Pelosi being hauled off to jail. I do believe that this election is a litmus test for American tolerance for fascism. The elements of fascism are rooted in this nationalistic drive for more babies for the state, for a strongman-driven nation, and a deep sort of state-based religiosity. So I do believe we have a media problem, and we do have some of our media that is leading people toward fascism. The question of America has become too soft and feminine. I think that is it's a fascist litmus test. So this question of whether the society is too soft and feminine, it was alarming to me that a majority of Hispanic Protestants agree, but that's not shocking. Immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country. This is one of the most terrifying things that you've heard a presidential candidate say, because it is straight out of Mein Kampf. 23% of Jewish respondents agree with that, because that's straight out Nazi talk.
Donald Trump's a fascist. Donald Trump has dementia. How utterly pathetic. And obviously not gonna work. I don't think any of it's working, frankly. I mean, if MSNBC is looking far and wide and can't find a single Kamala voter, well, what does that tell you about the polls? It's probably likely that they're well off the margin of error, clearly in one direction. Although, of course, you cannot take it for granted. Never underestimate your opponent and vote like hell. But it certainly does seem that Kamala's support is almost non-existent, and certainly not a grassroots phenomenon. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.